Okay, welcome for this practice. This is a relatively intermediate practice. We'll begin with Ujjayi breathing, noticing the geography of the breath in three parts, lower, middle, and upper. For those who are not yet familiar with Ujjayi breathing or you need a refresher, please check out this video here. It's a really important precursor to this practice. While we're going to begin simply, we will move into intermediate stages of this practice. It is always important that you pace yourself. Pranayama is not an opportunity to feel breathless or to become coercive or frustrated with yourself. It is an opportunity to practice patience, respect, inquiry, curiosity. You're working with very beautiful, powerful forces in your body, namely prana is one of those primary ones. And we're going to be developing our ability to concentrate, to stay present, to be non-distracted, and ultimately to arrive at some tranquility. So as this practice progresses, you're going to have opportunities for intermediate levels of the practice. We'll do 3-part breath with the pauses. That means that you're interrupting the inhale 3 times, and then you'll have a complete exhale, and then you'll learn the opportunity available to practice exhale suspension, a beginning level of exhale suspension. And my hope is that when you arrive there, you're going to sense that that suspension is a place of refuge, a place of deep quiet. But we are building ourselves to it. And so at any point in the practice that you feel breathless or you become more agitated or coercive, it's a sign that mental habit is taking over, your biochemistry is getting out of balance, and you want to back off in the practice and then resume again with, let's say, maturity and grace. Okay. So hope you enjoy the practice. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. For any videos that you hit like, it's feedback for me. When you subscribe to the channel, it helps me to keep producing more content for all of you. And always leave a question or a comment below if you have anything to offer. I would be glad to hear from you. Thank you. Now enjoy the practice. Welcome for practice. We're going to be doing a series of pranayama practices right now that are really helpful for brain health. And so I'm going to ask you to start with a comfortable seat and a short period of mindfulness for settling in. You're welcome to close your eyes. Lengthen your spine. It's especially helpful to lift up with the base of your skull. And very gently slide the base of your skull back. So there's going to be tone at the front of your throat. Not tightness, but tone. And then lift the center of your heart. Doesn't have to be a big lift, but you might want to feel that the sternum at the very top is going slightly up. And then your collarbones can roll back and the shoulder blades can roll down. And then lift your back ribs a little bit so there's more broadness across your back waist. And check that the floating ribs are not protruding forward. A little bit of tone at the front of your throat and also at the solar plexus. And then we're going to welcome the breath to drop down into the pelvic basin. And see if it's possible for you to watch the sort of unencumbered and unaltered breath, just for a few breath cycles. Can you just observe, simply noticing? You might observe the shape and the geography of your breath. And you could do that with an attitude of curiosity. What does the breath reflect? In terms of your sleep routine, digestion, mental activity. And with appreciation for your efforts to make a commitment like this to yourself, to your brain and body health, raise your hands to your heart. And make a commitment to yourself that during the practice, for any technique that's offered, you're really practicing within your own capacity. And the techniques are like a series of mini lessons that you can then consider how to put into a sequence or how to use in daily life when you need like a little pranayama scenic turnout. So you're welcome to bow your head to your heart. And release your hands and open your eyes. Okay. So there is research that's been done about one of the most accessible, common, familiar ways that we could breathe to reset our body and brain chemistry. And it's something that apparently we do naturally. You may not have noticed it in yourself, but it's said that we do it naturally. And through a long-term study of very specialized and well-run study, they looked at this particular breathing, which we're going to call physiological sigh breathing. They also looked at box breathing, and they looked at another form of breathing, which I have forgotten the name of because I have a concussion. So this particular breath technique they discovered was the most helpful for overall generalized stress reduction for people. And I think that's an important aspect of how we take care of our brains. It's not just that we learn some techniques that we can use to bolster or enhance the brain, but can we also unburden or give less stress overall to the brain and body? So this is a long inhale, a regular full in breath, and then like a tiny apostrophe at the end of that inhale. We make one more little inhale, like a sniff of an inhale. And then we're going to exhale like we're sighing, which is why it's called the physiological sigh. So it goes like this. I'll just do it once, and it should look like something that you can do casually in daily life. Also something that you may have done sitting at your desk or in traffic or in a moment of stress. So here's a long inhale. And then a little sniff on top of that. And then sighing. So I shouldn't say it's a long inhale, but rather that it's a big inhale. You're taking whatever capacity inhale you can take. For me, mine is a little bit longer, as I hear from doctors who are checking, take a deep breath in. They're checking your lungs. They're like, okay, take a deep breath, but not such a long breath, they'll say to me. So my deep breath is apparently longer than most people's breath. So let's think of it as a full breath cycle with a little apostrophe breath cycle at the end. And let's do it 5 times. I'll do it one more time as a demonstration. And then we can just do it 5 times, each of us at our own pace. We're going to check and see what that feels like. Okay, so breathe in. And then sip. And sigh. And you actually are sighing out the mouth. Okay, breathe in your own timing. And then sip. And sigh. Okay, now 4 times on your own. In your own timing, maybe you have 1 more to do. And then notice what that's like. What is the feeling tone in your mind or your body? You might feel a little bit spaced out. You may have noticed that there's a shift of your biochemistry. There's a shift of O2 and CO2. You can feel like a little bit spacey. And you could practice this technique up to 5 minutes. You could set a timer for yourself to do that. One thing it does is readjust. So now we're going to have capacity for something like Ujjayi breathing to be more balanced from inhale to exhale. Whereas, let's say, without doing a preparatory breath, we might be coming into Ujjayi breathing, knowing that it's helpful, and then using like a mental attitude of, I'm going to get this Ujjayi breathing to help me overcome a stressful moment, which would be a little bit more coercive of a technique, even though it's a yoga skill. But if we do something that shifts us first, and then we drop into a yoga practice, a yoga pranayama, we might come to it with a little more humility and grace. So now we'll do Ujjayi breathing. This is where you place the tip of the tongue behind the top 2 teeth. You'll open the back of the throat so it's kind of hollow. And in that process, when you're breathing in, you'll hear a whispering sound that comes through the bottom of the throat. You feel like you're breathing through the sternoclavicular notch. The sound will be in the inner ear. This whispering sound, we want that to be silky and smooth, not staccato, and a little pause at the top and a pause at the bottom. Let's try it out. Okay, so place the tip of your tongue behind the top 2 teeth. Open the back of your throat, almost like you're about to yawn. And then begin to inhale, thinking not of inhaling through your nose, though the air is entering the nose. Think of like inhaling from the base of your throat. And same thing with your exhale, that you're not really thinking I'm exhaling through my nose, even though the air is leaving through the nose. It's an exhale that's moving through the hollow place at the back of the throat. Now, as your breath becomes smoother, either right now or with practice, start resting your mind on the smoothness of the breath, as if you were gazing at the surface of water in nature and it was very still. And encourage your mind to be that still. So the breath, you want it to be smooth for the purpose of smoothing out your mind. You may also be ready to start balancing your in-breath with your out-breath. You may be able to make the sound of the breath gradually more subtle while maintaining keen mental focus. That'll be a sign that you're maturing in your practice. The breath gets more subtle, the sound more smooth. The transition to inhale pause or exhale pause is, it's silent in the pause, but the transition becomes almost imperceptible because the breath is so subtle. Let your mind rest in that subtlety. And then welcome yourself to deeply relax. Release the technique altogether. Notice any shift in your mind, maybe a capacity to be present or grounded. Now we'll do another technique that is really helpful in learning how to move to Nadi Shodhana, because we're going to combine the inhale of Nadi Shodhana, the exhale of Nadi Shodhana, and in between the two, there's going to be an Ujjayi breath. So what we'll be doing is inhale left nostril, Nadi Shodhana, and there's no Ujjayi during Nadi Shodhana. The narrowing of the aperture of the inhale is enough, so we don't also add Ujjayi. So we'll have inhale left nostril, then we're going to exhale Ujjayi, inhale Ujjayi, and then we'll exhale right nostril. Because there is not a long duration in between the two breaths, you might just keep your hand in the Nadi Shodhana position, right, like at your nose. You could also choose to lay it down. If your inhale and exhale are quite long with Ujjayi, you could put your hand back down and bring it back up. Generally speaking, we want to limit the amount of movement of the physical body, because the physical body, like the breath body, are going to be influencing the mental body. The physical body is more dense than the breath body, so keeping it relatively still and comfortable helps the breath body to do its part, and keeping that smooth lets the mental body come into a kind of tranquility. So place your right hand, so you've got your thumb and your ring finger like this, and then we're going to place the thumb and the ring finger on the sides of the nose, near to where the bone ends and your cartilage begins. And then gently closing the right nostril, does not need to be forceful. Let's inhale left side. And then exhale Ujjayi, no pressure on the nostrils. Inhale Ujjayi, no pressure on the nostrils. Exhale right side. We'll be inhaling on the right nostril. Exhale Ujjayi, no pressure on the nostrils. Inhale Ujjayi. You're cultivating a kind of trance for the mind while beginning to integrate the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So exhale left nostril. Inhale left side. Exhale Ujjayi. Inhale Ujjayi. Exhale right, and then continue at your own pace. Same pattern. And please do one more full round. So you'll begin left nostril, and then you'll be ending left nostril. Now, as you finish, or if you've already finished, you can deeply relax. If you have yet to finish, when you do complete the left nostril exhale, go ahead and rest your mind in the silence behind all thought and movement and sensation. And listen for the possibility that there is mental tranquility. Even if it's like a tiny pinhole of tranquility for you right now, rest your attention there. A word for that tranquility in Sanskrit is called stitau, a stable tranquility. Now we're going to take this tranquility and place it into some physical movements. You'll need 2 blocks and a chair. We will start with the 2 blocks and the chair as a full set, and then you'll see us progressing through different ways of using the 2 blocks and the chair. So let me transition back to my mat here. To get my cable so they don't disturb anything. And let me get my chair out. Okay, so let's place the chair. It's going to be facing the long edge of your yoga mat. You won't need a blanket right now. You will need 2 blocks to sit on. Great. So if we take the 2 blocks, we're going to be sitting on them like a little bit of a bench to start. So it's really just to give us the support we need in the hips and the pelvis. So place them like this, like you made a little park bench for yourself. Okay, so for this seat, we're going to be facing away from the chair. The distance between you and the blocks is going to be based on your body proportions, like how long is your arm. The height of the chair is pretty much standard, so are the height of the blocks. We're all not the same height, however, and we don't all have the same torso length. So you can adjust when you see what we're doing. So take a seat facing away from your chair. Go ahead and sit cross-legged in Sukhasana. And in this Sukhasana, lengthen up through your spine, cross your left hand to the outside of your right knee, and then walk your right hand around to the seat of the chair. And reach, if you can, towards the back corner of the chair. Right, so versus reaching down to the floor with the right hand, where we sometimes end up kind of compromising, we're going to reach across with the right hand there. Right, now we're going to come into the Ujjayi breath and try to have a relationship with the first third, the middle third, and the upper third of your breath. You're welcome to close your eyes if that helps you to concentrate. And see if you can balance your inhale with your exhale again. Now, as you're breathing in this position, if you brought your Ujjayi with you, and that's from the first session that we just did, if you brought your Ujjayi with you, you'll notice that the twist puts some compression on your body. And in response to that compression, how you're breathing right now will actually increase your lung capacity. You're massaging the internal organs. You're expanding the space between the lateral ribs, so those are your intercostal muscles. So even though there is some compression in the body, we don't want there to be like tension in relationship to that. So check that the shoulders are not rising up. And as you keep the neck long, let's do 3 more Ujjayi breaths here and twisting to the right. And give your entire focus to the smoothness of the breath so your mind has a place to land, again, as if your mind is resting on the surface of a body of water in nature, and it's very reflective. And with an Ujjayi exhale, come around to face forward, and then cross your right hand over your left knee. Walk the left hand around onto the chair. And listen again for the silence inside the Ujjayi breath. There is that silky sound that keeps pointing the mind to silence. And then follow your Ujjayi exhale to come around to face forward. Now, sitting up on the two blocks, and you could add blocks to this if you need to, we're going to be interlacing the fingers at the small of the back and then take them up onto the chair seat. Okay, now, I'm not very tall, but I am long-waisted. So when I put my hands up on the chair seat, I have enough space, it's quite breathable. You want this to be comfortable. It should not feel like your shoulders are being forced forward. But when you have the arms back like this, it's training for bridge pose, which is training for shoulder stand, which is training for plow pose. And all of them are training for Jalandhara Bandha. So as you squeeze the shoulders back, lift your heart, roll the collarbones up and back. Set the shoulder blades down the upper back, and then bring your chin in towards the base of your throat. And practice the Ujjayi breath here so you can sense as you bring your chin down, you have to lift the base of the skull to keep a hollow spot in the back of your throat. The sound of the breath should still sound unencumbered and silky. Now see if as you're working with the Ujjayi breath here, can you balance the inhale and the exhale? And try to get that for 3 breath cycles consecutively. Place your chin up, release your hands and your arms, rest your hands out over your knees, and deeply relax your mind and your body. And relax the breath technique. So we were in a position that mimics Jalandhar Bandha. We had the tone of Jalandhar Bandha. We were not doing any suspension. And so right now, relax the breath technique altogether. Okay, and then we're going to use these two blocks in a different manner, also with the chair. So one block is going to be for the shoulder blades, and that might be on the medium height for you, or it could be on the flat setting for you. The second block will be for the head, and if you've got this on the medium setting here, you're probably going to put this on the tall setting. And one reason to have the head a little higher than the heart in this practice is that we want to mimic the position that supports Jalandhar Bandha, and you'll soon see why. Now the distance from the chair, again, you don't quite know that until we get into it. So you'll place your shoulder blades here, your head, and then what to do with the chair. So you can watch here. I should say what to do with the arms and the chair. Okay, so you place your head, shoulder blades, make sure that's quite comfortable. So the edge of the block is at the bottom corners of the shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades sit back on the block. They should rest comfortably as if you were putting coasters on the table, and then you're going to put a glass of water there. It's going to be level. And then you're going to reach back under the chair seat to hold the legs of the chair. So I just reached back to hold the legs from the inside, and that's a place where you can then have your hands not be so low to the floor. The arms are supported, the elbows are straight. Now, of course, for some people, this reach is going to be quite big. In that case, you're going to put the block under your shoulder blades on the flat setting. The block under your head is going to be medium. And just by lowering those two blocks, the feeling in your shoulders is going to probably be more easeful. And so now let's notice that the chin is naturally snuggled a little bit towards the base of the throat. And can you once again do the Ujjayi breath, recognizing all three geographical regions of the breath? That is lower, middle, and upper torso. You may start recognizing that the upper third of the breath is going to need your attention. And during the upper third of the inhale, you are lifting the ribs and the collarbone. It's like lifting a lid off of a jar to give it a chance to breathe, right? So from the lower to the middle to the upper, keep your attention respectful and clear. And aim not to complete your inhale by the first third of the torso, right? So you have to pace yourself. Same with the exhale, lower, middle, upper. Now, as you complete 2 more Ujjayi breath cycles here, see if you can make them consistent in length, smooth, and tranquil. When you have completed those, let's take the arms out to the side. Allow the shoulders to relax, relax any effort with the breath. And then decide if you're going to sit up coming forward or roll to the side. I like to come forward. Okay, so now there's a technique that we're going to be adding to this practice. And this is a 3-part breath. And we're going to be doing inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause. Okay, and as we're doing that, this is a 3-part inhalation. With those pauses, we want to make it pretty equal. So inhale 3, pause for 3, inhale 3, pause for 3, inhale 3, pause for 3. So you're going to complete the inhale in 3 stages. The exhale is going to be smooth. We won't interrupt the exhale. As we go into the practice, some of you are going to be like first time exploration. So definitely take your time. And I'm recommending the count of 3 because it's easy to keep track of. You can also imagine that your exhale is 9. So as we go into the practice, and some of you are more beginning, some are more intermediate students, you'll have the opportunity to practice exhale suspension at the end of the exhale. You have to be really responsible with that, right? It's like being responsible with like a new kitten or a new puppy. Like be responsible with what you're training in yourself. So that exhale suspension would not be recommended for beginners because you have to get more and more accustomed to the breath overall. We also don't want you to feel breathless or to become agitated or anxious, but exhale suspension can be this realm of like deep mental quiet. Okay, so let's check it out, and I'll cue that opportunity for those of you who are more intermediate students. So you can lie back. If you haven't sat up, of course, then you're still lying down listening. But if you have sat up, please lie back once again. Reach the arms overhead. Notice that the chin is naturally bowing towards the throat, and therefore the mind is naturally bowing towards your heart. Now start with your Ujjayi breath without any interruption, and just noticing it smoothly coming in, smoothly going out. And you're going to be counting to yourself because the length of your inhale is unique to you. So when you count to 3, you're going to count slower or more quickly based on the length of your breath. So when you're ready to begin with inhale lower third for 3 counts, and then you'll pause for 3. Then you'll do the mid third for 3, pause for 3, and then your upper third for 3. And you'll pause again before exhaling for 9 without any exhale suspension right now. Bring an overall attitude of mental tranquility and responsibility. So you'll notice that the first third is probably the easiest. Middle third, you need to expand the side ribs. Upper third, you're going to be lifting the collarbones and the ribs to get the upper part of the inhale to come into the top of the lungs. Make the exhale smooth for 9 counts. And if you're doing well and your mind does feel tranquil, at the end of an exhale, you can practice exhale suspension. What happens there is that you'll have exhaled thoroughly. Without inhaling, you'll gently tone the throat, which is Jalandhara Bandha, and you'll deeply relax the belly. Because of that deep relaxation in the belly, all 3 bandhas will come spontaneously. There'll be a suctioning effect in the inner body, and then you'll release those bandhas before you inhale again for 3. During the exhale suspension, don't make anything bigger happen, only the natural exhale suspension. You'll feel a tiny suction inside, but don't increase it. And you may find, for those who are quite practiced, that you can do the exhale suspension for 9 counts. So it's equal to the length of your exhale. You can release at the end of your next exhale. And of course, anyone who is beginning this practice, you just stayed with the basic practice there. Anybody who considers himself intermediate, at any time there might have been distress or disturbance, you go back to the more basic practice. Anybody who got the beautiful suspension for 9 counts, you might have felt that mental tranquility that can come when your practice is working well, not when you're forcing it. So please bring yourself up to sitting in whatever way you would like to get there. And we're going to take a seat for meditation, actually. So I'm going to bring myself back up close to the camera for this part. Now, in this sitting period, we're going to have one more short practice that I think you are probably prepared for. And this practice is using sound into silence to remind the mind and the brain about where tranquility is. It's also because sound is vibration, and vibration is inherently healing for our system. Also really wonderful for the vagus nerve to have this kind of vagal tone that happens from singing, from using the throat. So this is a 4-syllable word. Some of you have learned this from me before. The word is AUM. So it's I should do it this way. AUM Silence. The 4th syllable is silence. So it's AUM Silence. When you're saying the A sound, it's ah. So it's like the doctor checking the tonsils. Ah. When you're saying the U sound, it's ooh. And the M is mm. And I like to put the lips inside the teeth because the vibration goes in and up towards the upper palate. And the silence is the 4th syllable. So you're going to pace the sound of the breath and the movement of the vibration to be AUM silence. Each part is equal. So you're not going to make the M last, eternally long and try to compete with fellow yoga students in a yoga studio. Why we tried to be the longest M, I don't know, but people did that. You're going to be pacing it. And let the silence be the last part of your exhale. So then you're going to inhale, right? So the silent period in your chanting is going to be long, but the silence in the Om sound is the last part of your exhale. Okay, so let me just change a setting here so we can get this. So if you think about it as when somebody rings a meditation bell, And we listen for that to go back to silence. So the silence that's coming there when you listen to the sound of the bell, the silence that comes at the end, that is a reminder for us of the silence of the divine, or the silence of consciousness itself. So like this. Okay, so let's try this practice together. I'm also going to suggest that you put your hands at your heart in the Anjali Mudra, like this. Rest your thumbs against your sternum. You'll feel the vibration of the A sound in the heart, the U sound in the throat, the M sound in the mouth. The silence is going to go up, sort of piercing the, we say, 6th and 7th chakra. So let's begin with an inhale. You may complete with your next one, and then rest your hands in your lap. You're welcome to close your eyes or keep them closed. Notice the overall, possibly the reflectivity of your mind. Maybe a felt sense of clarity or presence. And something that might happen is that your breath becomes almost imperceptible. The physical body and the breath body, and even the mental body, then can get very still together. Rest in the silence. Let your mind deepen its connection to silence. And then raise your hands to your heart. We'll finish with a little chant, and I'm going to recommend that we extend this chant to everyone, everywhere. May they all have access to practices like this. But I'm also going to suggest that if you have a beneficial feeling right now, you can practice this chant for a future version of yourself that doesn't feel connected to this beneficial feeling. So like a moment of stress later in the day, or a feeling of forgetting this tranquility, you could use this kind of chant there as a reminder. As we chant it now, it's like a prayer we're giving to our future self. So the translation is, may we and all beings everywhere have ease and happiness. And really, may we have the means to ease and happiness or joy. Like this. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May everyone in the whole world, Loka, have access to the means of balance, sama, a balanced attitude, with sukhi, with ease and happiness, sukhino bhavantu. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for sharing your practice today. Namaste. Before you go, thank you for sharing your practice, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps us to keep producing content. Hit like for any videos that work well for you, because that is feedback for me. And then also leave comments and questions down below the video so we can have a conversation with you about your experiences. Thank you very much. Namaste.